I've gone live. Hangouts on air is live. Yay! Nyan Pasu to everyone.
Yampasu.
Nyan Pasu, yay. What was that, Albert? 2013's word of the anime?
Anime catchphrase of the year, or something like that.
I still can't believe Ohio didn't catch on.
So Nyan Pasu to everyone. Your host, Tank Kun. We got Albert with us.
Hello.
We got Nick with us.
Hi.
We got Tripley with us.
Magical shoujo, where you go.
And since these guys said I didn't introduce him, we have Sean from last week. But he's not here right now. He's trying to catch up on that dramatical murder thing that's airing right now. So let's start with dramatical murder. I'm just kidding. Let's start with what was this title again?
Rokujoma
no
no
Shirai.
Shinyakusha.
Yeah.
I think the English title is Invaders of the Rokujoma. Yeah, I think that's what they're using.
You know, you would think since I'm introducing all these titles, I would practice saying them.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I could always get Google to do it for us again.
Yes, we need that later on.
No, we do.
At the end of the season, because I know I'll still won't figure it out by then.
Yeah.
Go ahead and start this up, Albert. This is your season.
All right, so Rokujoma no Shinyakusha is based on a series of light novels, and it's being written since 2009, and there are 16 volumes already, and 2 side stories. So it's,
Wait, 16 light novels?
3 to 4. Yes. So the guy that's writing it is putting it out at 3 to 4 volumes per year. So it's ongoing. Clearly, it's popular if he keeps writing. So what's the story about? Story starts off with our main character seen here. Wait, I do have that shared, right? Yeah. Seen here, his name is Kotaro Satomi, and Tropeville, he's starting high school and is living on his own. His dad got, I think, transferred to somewhere overseas, so don't want to move. And he found this really, really cheap apartment with no deposit and, you know, really cheap. He moves in.
I think it was like $50 a month.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then he finds out why, because after a while he notices that, oh, well, yeah, there is a ghost girl that is haunting the place. And she wants him to get out, so is doing all kinds of poltergeists. But apparently this is the first time someone can actually see him. So just a brief note, Rokujoma is a 6 tatami mat room. And this is like your living space. And Japanese houses tend to traditionally measure the size of the room by how many tatami mats you can place. So this is a typical 6 mat arrangement. A 4.5 mat is a really small room, but that's also possible. This does not include like the closet space or the dining, the kitchen area, or if you should happen to have the bath area either. So, and 8 tatami mat room is, you know, bigger. So anyway, he finds that this ghost girl, Sanae, is haunting the place, and they kind of start getting into a fight over who should stay in the room, because Kotaro's not willing to give up the space. And in this, while they're fighting, comes flying in this other girl, and she does fly in. Her name is Yurika Nijino, and she claims to be a magical girl. So already things get wacky, and you have all kinds of strangeness going on. Their fighting stops, and they just think she's some sort of like cosplaying girl with chunibyo, but she claims she's an actual magical girl. So then, add to this, one of the tatami mat floors uplifts, and from below ground, because he has a floor level apartment, comes the next girl. Oh wait, that's not it. This girl. And her name is Kiriha Kurano. She claims to be the descendant of the people who fled underground, so she's like the Earth people, and she wants to erect a shrine in this spiritual nexus point, which happens to be this specific room. And at first she bribes Kotaro to leave, and he's willing to accept the gold, but then she says, now we can start our invasion. And he's like, wait a minute, I'm not going to do that. So she wants the room, and she has a couple of haniwa, which are clay dolls, battle drones with her. So apparently they have super advanced technology too. And then into this mix comes a princess from a galactic empire who was randomly assigned to conquer this space in order to, in order to fight with her siblings over who should become the next ruler of this empire. So pretty crazy. The cast of characters is very varied, and there are a couple of other people, but those are the four main girls that you can already see a harem situation developing, although none of them like Kotaro at this point in the first episode. So animation quality is okay. It's done by Silverlink. There are portions of the anime that look really cheap and not very well animated, and then there are other portions which look pretty fantastic. But clearly Silverlink, who is also doing Prisma Ilya this season, is pouring their money into that as a more popular franchise. But I could see this becoming also popular. So briefly, in addition, Tia, her name is Tia, and Tia's assistant is Ruth. And let's see. There's also the landlord / classmate, another trope there. And her name is, wait, what is her name? Shizuka.
What are you
Right.
talking
So
about?
she's,
The most original thing I've seen.
what's that?
Classmate, landlord.
Yeah. She apparently inherited the apartment complex from her dead parents. So another trope there. No parents. This show is just full of tropes and stereotypes and wacky things. So yeah, the Kotaro and the four girls fight over the room. The landlord, Shizuka, shows up, and she gets pissed off because the room is trashed. And she turns into something like that and beats the crap out of everyone. Everyone, including the ghost, for some reason. And so she forces them to sign a non-violence agreement, treaty, in order to take control of the room somehow. And so they have to, over the course of the series, try to find a way to have a clear winner, I guess. There's one other character that is introduced in the first episode and has a more prominent role in the third episode, which is Kotaro's senpai and president of the knitting club, Harumi Sakuraba. So there's a lot of girls. Kotaro has a best friend, which I forgot screen capped. So there's like 2 boys and a bunch of girls, and we could already see where this is going. But it's not bad. It's actually kind of enjoyable. It's very crazy. The first episode is super crazy as it introduces everyone. And other than that, I can say that the voice acting talent is pretty interesting. They're almost completely made up of newbies. So they're people whose voice acting career involves girl A or student B, or passerby C. So That's how they're keeping the production cheap, but they're not all bad, and the girls are very distinct. And if you like harem shows and if you like comedy, I'd say give it a try. That's it.
So about that rent thing, I've actually heard that it's really expensive in Japan to rent a room. Like if you're going to rent something, you have to pay for the last month, the first month, and then you also have to give them like a generosity thing. I don't know. I read about it once. It was just really crazy. All these things they had to go to rent a room.
And if you're a gaijin, it's even harder.
Yeah. This show has been really enjoyable, really funny. Unfortunately, I haven't seen that third episode, so I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, that first episode to me was just kind of pure gold, the way everyone was introduced. It really hooked me in, and while I can say I enjoy the show, just the next episodes haven't just lived the energy that was in the first episode. But it's understandable, you just can't keep introducing characters. But one of the things that I really like about this show is the vocal actor for the Magic Girl. I love how she does that whiny voice so much. Just like whine about anything, man. But that voice. Oh.
I just love how they keep on. Yeah, sure. Cosplaying girl. Yeah.
They've got all these other you got that Earth residing underground dweller. You got the beamed in technologically advanced citizen of the whatever trying to conquer the room, and ghost and everything else galore. And nope, magic's not real. He won't believe you.
So I heard, Tripoli, you quit it after the first episode, right? You're like, not for me.
Well, actually, I hated how the characters were introduced, and all the tropes and characteristics of the characters, I don't know, they just don't fit, and I don't think the show was any funny in the first episode. I didn't have any hope that it will get better over the next few episodes, so I dropped it.
So one thing I do want to say about this show, which is kind of different from a lot of the harem shows, it seems like there's no real character you really like right now, or at least to me. So I can enjoy it just knowing that he's probably not going to be choosing any characters. I hate it when you want a certain character to be chosen and then they never get chosen at all. No one ever gets chosen.
Yeah, but this one's playing dangerously close to that line of an over-oblivious male main character. And I'm not talking about just oblivious, I mean over. I mean, all these ladies seem to subtly be attempting to win his favor, not because they necessarily like him at this time, but because they want almost like an extra chip to gain the room. If they figure if they could get him indebted to them, conquering the room would just be that much easier. Now, how that's going to pan out from there, we'll see throughout the rest of the animation, but at least at this time, they're just kind of tempting him to try to gain his favor, not because they necessarily have feelings at this time.
Alright, so I guess we're pretty much done with this episode, right? Or this series, I should say. Go ahead and move on to the next title we have here, which is Tokyo ESP. Let's go ahead and have Tripoli start this one out. It seems like to be your show, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, Tokyo ESP is something special. It's made by the author of Garai. I mean, remembers it's one of the most bloodiest shows in the last years. A lot of people died, characters died, and this show kind of started alike. And yeah, a lot of they even showed two characters of Garai in the show of Tokyo ESP, and so I'm thinking that they're in the same universe. But let's go on. The first episode kind of starts with a foreshadowing of how everything went in the future. Some asps or people with special, let's say, futures or skills like teleporting, getting invisible, burning flames out from their hands, come and kind of slave the government and want to make the government want to be the government themselves because they think the ESPs are well a minority. Yeah, they kind of have the skills to do that, killing everyone that stands in their way. That's mostly the first episode. But then in the second episode, they kind of start to, to make the manga into the anime right now. So they kind of have a girl and, let's say, a boy see some flying fish. Fish that not everyone can see. That's how the people in Tokyo SP get their special skills and everything. And, well, they kind of didn't notice at first, but after they watched this, let's say, fish, they kind of get their skills, and these skills kind of will disturb their lives in a way. So the girl has a skill to move through objects, and the guy can teleport everywhere where he has been before. And this shows, well, it's a little bit complicated to explain how this show kind of works. In the first episode, it's a lot like Garai mixed with a more romanced way of showing, let's say, emotions. And yeah, actually, I can't really summarize this show pretty well because I've read the manga quite a lot. I don't want to spoil. But the show includes a romance later on, which is not as crazy as any other show. It's more on a one-way romance in a way at first. And there will be a lot more one-way romances in the next few, or in the next episodes, all over the place. But the show is has a lot of interesting stuff happening because the father of the girl, for example, kind of sees the fish too and has the skill to attract objects with metal inside. So he kind of wants to rescue his girl and moves around in the city, and he attracts everything in the city's surroundings. And he's like a big ball of cars, buses, and street lanterns, and rolls around in the city, and everyone is like, "Wow, what's this?" Yeah. And I think the show will be a lot more awesome the next few episodes. It has a lot of comedy, action, and blood included. Yeah, that's a little summarized right now.
Yeah, like Tokyo ESP kind of felt to me like almost like an X-Men take on Gare. It does actually. I didn't notice it at first. I think Tenk had first informed me about the striking similarities between Gare and Tokyo ESP, and I believe that if you take out the exorcism and spirits in Gare and you add in the mutant-esque abilities into Tokyo ESP from X-Men, it is kind of what this thing delves into now. Um, it's these mutant powers seem to be kind of new towards the city right now, so there's a lot of controversy going on, and between people who have not awakened to an ability and those who have power, the normal citizenships who have no ability speak of fear the people with these powers and how they can basically wreak havoc upon their society. Um, we do see a semblance of faction setup. We obviously have a team of good guys who try to basically police the Esper Force themselves, and we also have the bad guys who are using their powers to control society and elevate it to the next human evolutionary step. Um, I actually do kind of find it funny how much I compared it to X-Men because, like in the most recent episode, as Trippy was saying, we had her father character. He actually struck this pose, very masculine, hair almost in the same style. He had 3 police batons right where Wolverine's claws would be. I was just kind of laughing, like, really, really, is this a reference? And yeah. It's hard to say how good this show is necessarily going to be. I love the setup of the first episode, but then when we got to episodes 2 and 3 and onward, as to how it's explaining how we got to the first episode, I get concerned about shows with pacing that type of story. Now, the effects, while not necessarily immaculate, are pretty decent. I really like the way the characters wisp in and out when you have invisibility and teleportation at play. They have some unique take on effects. And another point of interest that draws me to the show is you see mutants almost at some point who have like devices that like augment their abilities, and that kind of reminded me of some of the enemies in shows like Read or Die. I just kind of like how people like make devices to try to augment their mutant abilities, and it's just kind of a creative, seems like a creative take on I just can't explain it. I like it. So, Albert, is there anything you may have noticed about this show?
It did have just ridiculous amounts of, like, I don't want to say homage, but I guess parody of superheroes, Western style superheroes, including Dad Wolverine. So personally, the show is not really grabbing me. The first episode I thought was a complete mess. It didn't have a character you could attach yourself to or follow. You know, they keep talking about the mysterious white-haired girl that saved everyone so many years ago, but she doesn't really make an appearance. And yeah, I did not think it was a very good premiere episode. The second and third episodes, which I have watched, kind of focuses on the backstory a little bit more and how Rinka comes to get her powers and what happens when she first does get her power and the other peoples that with powers that she meets. But yeah, the effect scenes are nice, but other than that, I think it has a serious pacing problem. I think this show is slated for one cour, 12 or 13 episodes, I think. And judging from the source material, there was like a part 1 and a part 2, right, Tripoli? So I think they're following part 1, and I don't really know how the manga goes, but I think they have some pacing issues. It doesn't seem to flow as well. So this might be. I'm on the cusp of dropping it, and I'm hoping maybe the 4th episode will improve. But so far, I haven't really been impressed with how the story is actually setting up, and the character interactions seem a little bit forced to me. So.
Well, the first episode was even confusing for me as I've read the manga. And I think these actions are currently not in the manga right now. I've read until chapter, let's say, 25, 26, that's volume 7 or 8, and there's nothing in it. And they're currently advancing at, let's say, 2 chapters an episode, standard style. And, well, the first episode was randomly interrupted. I think they just wanted to show the premise of the show being more bloody than shown, let's say, in the second episode. There was mostly fisting other people. There's no blood, or in the third episode there was, let's say, more a brutal way to it. But the first episode, the first half was very promising, when the second half was, let's say, about the strange white girl that is missing. Why isn't she here? Or other, let's say, characters were introduced in the first episode, where I thought, well, that's kind of strange introduction here. And yeah, I think they should have started with with the second episode, and there could be a lot of trouble if it is really only for a half season. Well, yeah, if it's a half season, there's just a terrible trouble with pacing. I think that's true.
Yeah, I just checked, and according to the wiki, it's set for 12 episodes. So, anyone else watching it?
I'm watching it, but I don't have much to say about it. I mean, it's at first it was kind of interesting, just the effects they used for the abilities, but that's the only thing that was really stood out to me. I mean, one of the kids' voice kind of annoyed me, but I don't know. There's just nothing in the show that's pulling me towards it right now, except for that nagging feeling that I'd seen those two characters. And once I figured that out, the show is no longer like interesting to me, I guess I could say.
You must watch future episodes to try to link in more characters to the original Guy Ray.
We'll see. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next title, alright?
Oh well. Hopefully Tokyo ESP will get better in the next episodes. If anything else fails, just don't watch it.
Hopefully. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out the next title, which is Insei, a life advice TV animation, I guess. Is what this going with? Oops. Give me a second here. So it looks like it's based on a light novel, and one thing that surprised me when this show came out was it looked like they had a little figure of Mao from Good Luck Club on there. It's like one of the first scenes you've seen, so I thought it was going to be that same type of show, the same type of thing, but turned out to be very different from what I expected. So I guess I'll talk up this. I think it's like their second newspaper club that's being this club that's being introduced, and they decide to make a life counseling column. So they invite 3 girls, each knowledgeable in a certain field. I can't remember what the fields were right now, but one of them was I just can't remember. But each girl is pretty unique. But
Yeah, I think we had one head of like science. I don't know if she particularly majored in like a biology or more of a chemistry. We had an athletic lead or counselor, I guess, and Yeah, that middle one. I think she's more of a social studies or something. I couldn't quite tell you.
Yeah.
She's
But
she's kind of the weird one.
yeah, so like I think in an episode there's like it's split into like kind of three different parts where each they'll get a letter explaining the problem, and then each girl gives their own opinion on how to solve this problem, and then they go through with like some examples of how to solve the problem and go through it. So it's very different from what I thought when I first saw it, and it's very. Oh, I almost want to say it's very fan servicey from what I've caught to it, and it's kind of weird in the way they put it in with the story, but I can't say it's bad because I'm still watching it. What are you laughing about, Nick?
I don't know. Sure, there's plenty of bad stuff we all watched through just because we had a hope of it getting better. Not to say that's at play here, but yeah, Gene Say is a kind of a weird one for me too. I think I think our main character, the male protagonist here, was drug into doing this by his club president. This was a scenario set up for him, and I think it's her goal is to get like I think she literally came out and blatantly stated this is to like help you get a girlfriend or something, and it's very difficult to really kind of see where this guy's going. Um, it is set up into like you said that you get multiple letters and scenarios and real life practice and analyzing their own advice before they submit it. It's just something I guess you gotta kind of like develop a liking to the characters for. It's like entertaining, but only kind of moderately so to me. I am watching it, but it's kind of more on the mid range on my list right now. It's just kind of something to watch and expect. You're not going to get too many surprise moments of greatness from it, but it's still entertaining nonetheless.
It's one of those things that's hard to recommend, I would say, but surprisingly, I've seen a lot of screenshots being posted, or even a lot of animated GIFs, just for certain scenes. I guess the most fan service scenes, but yeah, it's really hard to pace this, or chicks want to even say, "Hey, you should watch this."
I guess you could almost say that it's interesting to see what people ask them for advice from, and maybe to kind of parallel it with like your own life and your own past, or maybe to see if their advice is anything halfway decent towards real world dynamics. I think that'd be like an interesting aspect to have in regards to watching the show. Like, what would I recommend in that situation? I mean, it probably stirs on some imagination, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to recommend this guy because it's so laid back and in very anime kind of way.
So the only thing I could really say is if you watched the first episode and couldn't get into it, I don't think you'll be able to get into the whole series. Would you agree, Nick?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I mean, we'll be watching obviously all the way through and through, and if there's like any surprise, anything worthwhile about the series, we'll mention it later. It springs up.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title, unless you have anything else to add.
I've been enjoying it. Amazon is very nice science film.
So would you say it's recommendable, or do you agree with us about?
Well, I've been enjoying it in a way that's more laid back. Yeah, nothing else. Well, it's nothing special, but watchable in a way.
Hmm. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next title here, which I should have gotten a little prepared. What is that? Oh, how to ride?
Hmm.
Drama. Action. Here you go, Nick. Go ahead, Nick. You start us off.
Okay. How to Ride is, as Tank just said, a very dramatic series with a very slice of life aspect to it. Um, we are essentially introduced to a character who um, doesn't necessarily want a lot of attention from like negative feelings of hatred or jealousy from like females or the overly doting male classmates. She just kind of wants to be. She just kind of shies away from a lot of interactions and keeps a bare minimal count of friends. She basically met this one student a while ago and had developed feelings for him, and while trying to avoid attention from all other types of students, she kind of led him into this misconception that she wasn't too interested in guys. Um, it's a very bittersweet series thus far that has like a lot of promising character kind of growth in it. These two students meet many years later, and we kind of hear their takes on um, what had happened many years ago when one character had to suddenly move away. That led to their gap, and I don't know. Like this isn't my forte on describing. I'm just trying to get like a summary out there, but a lot of the animation quality is decent, but it has its own its own art style that I kind of actually find myself being drawn to. I like the way the main the female lead is kind of drawn and how she expresses her kind of emotions. So I have a lot of, this is kind of my drama series for the season. It's interesting and surprisingly not dull. So, well, not too dull in the sense of drama. I mean, it can't be compared to like a sheer action series, but its pacing is rather decent from what I've seen thus far. So.
So, I've only seen the first episode. I tried. I kind of forgot to catch up on it, but it didn't seem to have too much comedy, did it?
Um, it's not like over the top comedy, but it's little moments here and there that you can like sneak a subtle snicker about. It's not going to have you rolling due to absurdity, but it has a lot of play on like situational irony, if you will, and kind of the way the characters interact with each other leads to moments of like kind of personal inspiration. The way they handle scenarios is very well done, and that's kind of like one of the draw points that I have to the series is just seeing how these students handle certain situations with their intrinsic personalities.
Yeah, because one thing that this show kind of reminded me was of that one Kimi no Toroke or something like that,
Hmm.
especially the art style. But for some reason, it was very different because it didn't have the comedy factor that that show did have. So it's at first I was getting into it because of the style, but then after noticing that the comedy wasn't there to say, it was kind of getting harder for me to want to go, do I really want to watch the rest of this? Right now, I'm not. I don't want to put too much time into heavy drama right now.
Yeah, I got interested in their story, and I do actually kind of want to see how everything gets resolved. So, um, in my opinion, it's a fairly decent drama. If you're into drama series at all, definitely check this guy out.
Basically, this is a shoujo show with adult elements like Kimi no Toroku, Fat, and well, it will have a nice drama over the show itself, including some anti-air elements. And well, I know some people and myself that know that after reading the manga, that this show will include a lot of nice drama elements and romance elements that you don't often see in more shonen-like shows. So, well, if you like shoujo shows, like, well, Soro Demo last season, this will mostly be something for anybody else that also like that.
All right, is that it? I guess so. So we'll go to the next title here, which is Tokyo, another Tokyo show, Tokyo Ghouls, or Ghoul. I don't know if Nick's there, but Triple, you want to start off us on this one?
Well, Tokyo Ghoul is a show about Tokyo itself, which is split into wards. And it's, let's say, population which is consisted of humans and ghouls. Ghouls are people that eat humans and are hunted by the government, by special forces. And these ghouls have, let's say, skills again, which make it easier for them to kill humans and other ghouls itself. So one day, a guy, I don't know its name, is in a cafe and is reading his book when he's waiting for someone he wants to speak to about his new book and someone he likes. So after meeting up in the cafe randomly, they kind of get well into buying some new thing. Yeah, and yeah, after they go home, it's like kind of get a fight, human fast ghoul, and both of them nearly died. Well, one of them died, and these humans survived barely, but you kind of got some origins from the ghoul, and kind of now half ghoul, half human, and well, now he needs to eat human flesh. So that's the kind of story that it is. So it's a little bit of action, a little bit of so personal drama around, because you can't eat anything else than human flesh and, well, human meat. Yeah, it's kind of, it's currently likable a lot because of the, let's say, girl main character, which is nicely animated and drawn. But the rest of the story is mostly likely the boy that is angstly, rests easily. Yeah, he's just a kitty boy, mommy boy, in a way. I don't like that. But the girl, yeah. If I would compare it to something, it will be, yeah, I don't know. so much show those boys that he and yeah.
I think like one of about the only thing to draw a comparison to would be like what maybe Pupa should have been or something other than whatever the train wreck Pupa was. But yes, as Tripley was saying, Tokyo Ghoul very much centers around a character who did have an accident and he had the ghoul organs transported or emergently transplanted into him, and that actually kind of turned him into half a ghoul. And to be a little more descriptive on the ghoul aspect of things is they don't necessarily eat people because that's what ghouls do. Um, all throughout society, which seems to have a difficulty in being able to detect who is a ghoul, aside from when their eyes invert and go with a dark black background, bright red pupil. Um, ghouls have tried eating human food, and they just cannot stomach it. It tastes so putrid to them. One exception, for whatever reason, being coffee. Um, their instinctive hunger pains, if you will, drive them to eat other people, even though they don't necessarily. Or I mean, some of them assert a mentality that they are superior, being a ghoul to humans because they do have slight augmented abilities. But others just try to fit into normal society, and they have a difficulty in doing so because of their own hunger, their instinct, their drive, and they only have like one food source as an option. So this series does try to draw a lot of controversy into the main character who does not want to be a ghoul at all, wants to return to being fully human, but he's opening up to ghoul society and he is learning um, how some of the more subtle ghouls coped, and we also have a little bit of the ghoul perspective at play here. The character who he was introduced to seems to have resentment that she was, born a ghoul and was never a human. Living in a society where food is advertised, cake shops, friends wanting to try desserts with each other. She tries to hold social friendships, but when she can't taste anything when she's with her friends without getting violently sick, it kind of draws a point of difficulty for her. And the main character has mentioned at one point that becoming the way he is now, since then his life has been all hell. And she returns the question, well, then it has my whole life been all hell. Is being human so much easier than being ghoul? I didn't choose to necessarily be this way. So there's a lot of controversy and a lot of story development with characters kind of learning to cope. And this is a difficult one for me to necessarily recommend because it's so raw and kind of gritty as far as the story content. To a point, like people are almost being eaten as though this were a zombie show. So, but I do have a little vested interest in this. This I'm kind of watching in pair with another show to be talked about later for kind of a special reason that I'd like to bring up when we get there.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you might know, but I'll make that public a little later.
So the ghouls on the show, unlike in like popular culture, they're not undead. They're just what are they? Are they like an offshoot of humanity, or a completely different species, or is any of that explained at this point or known?
Not too well, if anything. They do seem to be mostly human, aside from basically their taste buds and physical talents. So it's kind of difficult to place. They did state that relationships between humans and ghouls do form because they are pretty much, for the most part, normal people who have normal emotions. Just they can't get too hungry, and their options of eating are fairly limited. They did assert that. Hybrids, half human, half ghoul, come about because of a strict genetic incompatibility between the two. It's possible, but extremely rare. So hybrids don't happen often. And
Okay.
they did actually come out to a point and say that a hybrid being is much stronger than the physical um, abilities of a normal, just pure blood ghoul. You know, humans, while being powerless, ghouls, you have a slight augmentation. Having that hybrid self really bring the human blood brings out the best traits in the ghouls and makes for one powerful being, apparently.
All right. Thank you for that.
Well, I think Albert was still going somewhere with it, maybe, or no?
No, I was just curious about what their place in society. But I will mention that it seems if they like to feast on human flesh, doesn't matter if it's dead or alive, because in popular, mythology, it's usually associated. Ghouls are associated with graveyards and eating of dead flesh more than just attacking people. So having that in mind, it seems like picking Japan is kind of a bad choice because cremation is popular in Japan. It's
Yeah.
culturally the norm versus other cultures which might bury their dead.
Um, that's not extensively covered. We can possibly be led to believe at this time that it truly doesn't matter. We've seen them. They typically, only attack and kill someone when they absolutely need to eat. So it tends to be a fairly fresh body, if you will. But the ghouls who choose to live in the shadows of society and not revel in what they are, because there are people who are proud to be ghouls and seek um, different ways to kind of prepare a person, which is kind of an odd thing to say about an anime. But they did actually cover that one of their food sources for the guys who try to repress their ghoulish nature is a peak where it's kind of like one of those teen stories. You go to this peak when you're done living life and you just kind of throw yourself off a cliff. Well, some of the ghouls do take at grounds such as that, which presumably will have not as fresh bodies.
I see. Thanks.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next title, which is personally my favorite right now. Gekkan Shoujo Nozoki-kun. Or Nozaki-kun.
So tell us what's your favorite.
Well, let's see. How should I explain this? There's a female, which surprisingly, it's even though it's my favorite, I don't remember all their names.
It's difficult for me to at like the very beginning of the season. I haven't had time to set all the names into memory yet.
Yeah, the main female is really likes this one guy, Nozaki-kun, and ends up wanting to confess her feelings. And through some mishaps and miscommunication, she ends up finding out that he's a manga artist, and he ends up recruiting her to help him with his manga. And she finds out that he's a actually really popular, really famous manga artist, but for shoujo manga, girls manga. So it's kind of funny because of the content and the story versus the guy's attitude and the way he. It's just so different.
His demeanor does not fit his manga. He seems to be. He seems to greatly understand shoujo manga and can write it, but himself may not have the best grasp of actual like team dynamics.
Yeah. So as a show goes on, you're introduced to many other characters, and you're also introduced to the processes that he goes through while making his little manga. And you end up meeting characters throughout the series that he uses for inspirational purposes for characters in his manga. And man, a lot of these characters are crazy.
Hmm.
They're just so funny.
See, one of my personal favorites about this is how he picks apart at tropes of shoujo manga to better understand them. He'll be in a scenario with the female lead, as we'll call her for right now, and he'll be asking her about scenes that is popular in these series to kind of get like a better understanding of them or to figure out what would be most popular to use in his manga. So they commonly test the scenes that are utilized in many shoujo manga, such as riding on the back end of a bike or the most legal attempt to do so. And the way he instantly sketches up like scenes of this is kind of what I'm going for is one of like almost the priceless amounts of humor that they use in this series. I mean, yeah, it's got a highly comedic nature, and I really like how it focuses so much on manga, and while it is an anime. So.
Yeah, I think Sean is the one I hear the most that makes comments like, I drew this little sketch here for fun off of one of the scenes in the anime, but I added all those little triangles and squares, the little hearts, circle. I always remember hearing Sean make comments about all those shoujo stuff with those circles and haze. And surprisingly, it's actually pretty easy to make.
Mm. Yeah.
But man, this show's been really fun. It's been exciting. I almost want to recommend it to people for comedy type anime to watch.
No, absolutely. Even if you're just a normal manga fan who has read the occasional more dramatic series, there's just so much interesting going on in the series. So many memorable things that just kind of stick with you. I was like really blown away with the pacing of the first episode. Not to say it's necessarily like the greatest thing ever or anything, but going into many animes having no expectations of what I'm about to watch, this was one that I kind of got a little excited over, and as soon as I kind of watched it, like a night or two later, I was even hitting up some of my anime friends who watch a lot of these shows, like, oh, have you checked out this title yet? Because it's surprisingly good. So.
Well, actually, I will compare it to Mangaka-san to Assistent-san, even though there's no pencil included. Actually, the principles of the anime and Mangaka-san to Assistant-san are very close to each other. And even though we had a lot of stuff included, that is really, really funny. They even used, let's say, that he can't use anything that's illegal in the manga, like riding on the back of the bike. So he used, let's say, a bike with for two people. But the show really is building on how Hildebrand is reading his world around him. So, well, at that, this is very interesting right now. It is very likely to be one of the best shows of the season. I would really recommend it to anyone interested in anything similar.
The only thing I have to add to this series is that this is the second series out there right now that I've really, really enjoyed the soundtrack to, the background music that's being played. Especially during episode 1, I found myself going back and forth just to listen to certain tracks, and it's just well played and goes really well with the series. I don't know about the opening or ending, but The BG is really good.
Yeah, I haven't established my opinion on a lot of the openings and EDs yet. They're kind of unique this season, so I'm kind of waiting to see which ones stick with me as more memorable before I start making comments about them.
Yeah, so this one, and I think it's the title we talked about first last week, are the only two titles with the background music, which is amazing. But let's go ahead and move on to the next title, which something Blade Dance, right? Seirei Sky no Blade Dance.
Generic
So,
ham incoming.
yeah. So I know it's based off of a light novel. I've read the light novel, at least the first book, and I've seen the manga for it out there. But let's go ahead and have Nick tell us a little about it.
Was that me?
Yeah, because honestly, I haven't watched too much of it because I've read it
Yeah,
before,
no,
so
just
something
kind of
like this
lagged
was
after a
outside.
second, so I just wanted to make sure after I heard no one picking up. But yeah, Seirei Sky no Blade Dance pretty much follows a synopsis of in this setting we have a school set up for people who can contract with spirits to practice their ability to do so. Um, trend seems to be that they're exclusively female, although throughout history rarely a male does come along and is able to contract with spirits to utilize. We start up with our main protagonist who apparently is one of those rare male spirit handlers. Um, and as he progresses on, we learn that he has almost abandoned his life as a spirit caller, but then has incentive that's revealed in the first episode to kind of draw him back in to practice a little more to achieve a goal of some sort. Um, he bumps into many female spirit users in training, I guess I'll call them, who or actually he's called out by the principal of this school to be incorporated into the school's curriculum so that he can compete in a competition to hopefully win it for the school, basically. And um, he's essentially drafted into this all-girls school who has a very adverse reaction to, a lot of the girls there are pretty much shied away from males throughout their life. They're heavily sheltered. So we do see a lot of kind of personality responses that wish to avoid the main character, while we have other cast members who have chosen to attempt to make him their familiar, or to form a spirit contract between them. And it's full of effects and battling and just elemental themed spirits. We have a fire cat, like an ice wolf, and the respective colors of those spirits have their own personalities that just kind of make this into an actiony harem show of unknown quality at this time. So,
Well, I totally have to agree that this show is most likely one of the badass harem shows we enjoy. Not over the course of the season. Well, the first episode was most likely is not very that pleasing for me, so I've dropped it. Like, yeah, on the ground.
All right.
Well, to add for the plot. Actually, he's the first male contractor for for the first time since I don't know for 1,000 years. So, and the last one, male contractor just burned the whole Earth kinder, and that's why most of the interactions are strange, or in a strange way.
I have to say that guy's treated really poorly.
Oh, that's what makes it a harem show to some extent.
Yeah. If anything, it reminds me of that Zero Familiar type show. Has kind of almost the same feel to it. Maybe a little more actiony, but better. I would say a
Yeah,
little bit better kind of action types, but it
I
has
mean,
the same feel.
the easiest thing I can almost compare it to, not to necessarily state that it's going to go down that path, just the highest soundless thing that I can think of is Infinite Stratos, because you essentially replace the mech suits with the spirit calling nature thing, and that's almost the setup of most of the story, except where the main character was warmly welcomed and almost idolized by most of the school. In this particular scenario, the main character, like I said, is met with a bunch of sheltered people who kind of shy away and give him the lower end of the deal. Like there's this male student who has just entered a building geared towards a sheer female staff. He's going to have issues with dorm, restroom facilities, and all this other stuff. And they kind of lightly glaze over it, but at this time, he's at least not as warmly welcomed as Infinite Stratos. Hopefully, not as dense to make for a little bit of a better show.
So, Triply, are you trying to say this is the Maho Sensho of this season?
Most likely.
Nah, no. This is way better than that.
Everything is well better than Miles Sensor, but I compared it to
Nothing will ever be
Miles
that bad,
Sensor.
okay? Nothing will ever be as bad as Maho Sensho. Even though there's some that might be close, nothing will ever be that bad. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title, which I bet one person might like. Oops. Since he likes traveling the high mountains.
Yeah.
Mountain climber lollies.
Yeah. So the Japanese title is Yama no Susume. It's called Encouragement of Climb for whatever reason. This was a short anime series, short meaning about 5 minutes, that was last summer, or wait, no, not last summer. Original run was, when was the original run? Oh, winter 2013, January 2013. Really? It was that long ago? Okay, yeah, anyway, so what is the story about? And the story is about Aoi, who you see here. She's kind of an indoor type girl with indoor type hobbies like knitting or making crafts and things. And she enters high school and is reunited with her childhood friend Hinata, who you see here. And Hinata is much more kind of outgoing and outdoor type and likes to throw people for a loop and is kind of hyperactive, And she convinces Aoi to come out and try, what they call Tozan, which is mountain climbing, but in reality right now it's just about like hiking. And Japanese hiking tends to be sometimes more like just walking up a steep slope on concrete and pavement and things like that. So it hasn't really gotten into the hardcore, what we would consider hiking in the backcountry or backpacking or anything like that yet. But anyway, so the two girls they used to be together quite a bit more, and they happened to see a sunrise from a mountain, and they kind of want to see that, regain that, sense of adventure once again. And so along the way, they also meet a older student at their school, which is Kaede-san. She's a year older, I believe. That they happen to meet at an equipment store, and they also come across a younger girl who's in middle school, Kokona-chan, and the four of them will eventually become friends along this, idea of mountain climbing, and become friends, and that's kind of where the first season ended. And again, it's a 5-minute episode. It's probably the best 5-minute episode series I've seen to date. People is pretty close, but I would still put Yamano Susume first. Really well done. It's kind of promoted as a slice of life, but it's really not, because it has a definite progression, and they introduce you to mountain climbing concepts like backpacking equipment and different hiking locations, which are all based in real life. So it's a very enjoyable season. In the second season that just started, apparently the popularity was enough that they've increased the runtime to about 15 minutes. And instead of 12 episodes, it's slated for 24 episodes. I know that it's based on a manga. There's plenty of source material. So again, they're continuing the story where they left off, and they will be going on harder hikes, setting some goals, and meeting new people. I know that Kaede's friend, this is from a second season promotional poster, but Kaede's friend, who has yet to appear, will also be joining the cast. She is in between Kaede and Kokona on the right there. So I think based on the first 2 episodes that I watched, it's still going to be kind of the same format as they introduce you more and more to the joys of mountain climbing, and I would highly recommend that you check it out, because especially of the short format. If you have some doubts, just watch the first season. Again, first season is 5-minute episodes, at 12 episodes at that. And if you like it, I think you will like this series in the second season. Okay.
All right. I don't think there's much else to say after what you said. Pretty much covered it all. So let's go ahead and move on to the next title, which is
Anime of the season.
Sword. Okay, someone else is gonna have to take this over. I haven't watched this.
Momo Kyun Sword, as it almost comes out, is a highly extensive, peach-themed, action-y, fan service-y series in which I forget. I'm not too great on Japanese folklore. Albert, would you happen to know the story in which the peach was involved with the 3 familiars?
It's Momotaro, which is the Peach Boy, story of the Peach Boy. It's one of the most famous Japanese folklore stories, where the basic premise is the old man and old woman lived up in the woods. They couldn't have children. One day they found a giant peach floating down the river, and from the peach is born a boy, and hence the Peach Boy. As he grows older, he goes to fight demons or ogres or whatever you want to call them, the Oni. And along the way, he gains 3 followers that he essentially bribes with a type of dumpling called kibidango, a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant. So that's a basic folklore story, but they obviously put quite a twist on that, from what I understand.
We
Take it
have
away.
a gender swapped Momotaro from that series. So, while the attire of the lead character is rather revealing and again peach themed, whereas a lot of the special effects tend to like puff out in like peach poops in this series, it's all highly themed towards that goal. We have a story of which there was this I don't know this 3,000-year-old peach or something like that, or a celestial one that was a large peach that fragmented. The main character was born from a separate peach, by the way. So there's more than one great peach in this world, I guess. I don't know. But the enemy is on a path to collect the peach shards to use them for whatever their goal is. I couldn't quite tell you yet. It's not that far. And our protagonist here is visited by the what's it the four elementals of heaven or something like that. I forget what they call themselves, but they all have like fruit themed names. It's kind of funny. We have like a Suika, a Ringo, and I can't remember the name of the other two in all honesty, but they are elementals from heaven who also bear other fruit names, which without as much fruit theming to their actual natures, but at least in my opinion. Um, they go out on this quest to stop the bad guys from collecting all of the peach shards and to once again restore the peach to the heavens where it will be safe, I guess. So it's pretty much full of character opposition where, you know, insert demon adversary, main character attempts to fight. She utilizes this technique called soul fusion, where she can, as long as she's of a similar mind, or at least calm, I guess it's also being said, she can merge with one of those three familiars, the dog, monkey, or pheasant, and gain an augmented physical form, almost to the tune of Vivid Red, kind of a fusion, if you will, like Vivid Red from back in the day. And that's essentially what the story centers around, is traveling throughout Japan to reclaim shards of a peach so the bad guys don't get it. Well, pretty much in every episode we have a transformation scene. Yeah.
So this is like Inuyasha, where they have to go collecting shards.
Yeah, and it's definitely a shard collecting show, but it has a much more fan servicey twist than Inuyasha ever will.
Huh.
It kind of feels like the regret in a way.
The
Well,
effects and the enemies aren't badly drawn in this series. There's a lot of art that I like from it. As nonsensical as the story sounds, it's truly not a bad series. But if you're not into like the fan servicey battlers, then this show isn't for you. So that's all I pretty much have to say right off the bat.
well, what I have to say is it usually gets more hilarious with let's say more alcohol and friend, which has also drunk a lot of alcohol. And then you can watch the episode twice in a row.
Okay, so yeah, if you love fan service, this show's got plenty of plot for you.
Plenty of plot.
Yeah, I couldn't say I can get into this show, but let's
It's
move on.
charming in some way to me. I mean, I recognize that, like, or I realize that there's really nothing it's surmounting to, but the fight sequences are rather above par in the grand scheme of things. They're not like the most awesome scenes I've ever seen, but they definitely do draw me in. I can get into the story a little bit. Again, as nonsensical as it is. The fan service is really not the most appealing thing about this series. I just kind of find its light take on comedy as they're exploring to get these shards one of the more redeeming features of the show. You know, it's not, to me, all about the battling. It's the characters have fun interactions with each other. So that's mostly where my interest is kind of vested.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title, which is Love Stage. What was that face for?
Just thinking about what to say about this thing.
Yeah. So I was okay with this show until episode 3. I mean, wow. That escalated quickly. Is the only way I could explain it. It had some points in the first episode that made me want to watch it. At first, I wasn't thinking of touching it, but then some people started posting some GIFs where he's trying to make a manga, and it was kind of funny. It was kind of cute, the little mascot characters and stuff. And it wasn't too bad, but then episode 2 came out, and you're like, wow, okay. Hopefully that's as bad as it gets. And episode 3 kind of just goes way overboard.
Okay, well, to give this thing the synopsis that it needs before we start tearing apart the horrible taste in our mouth the story leaves. Many, many years ago, our protagonist is of a family of performers, actors, entertainers, if you will, who want to dearly get him into the family business. They think that his expressions that he displays are truly need to be captured and used as a talent of sorts. His dream is to draw manga, however, being a slight bit of an otaku himself and having a fanaticism with a magic girl character from, you know, your traditional insert, you know, transformation magic girl-esque show into show here. But there was this one wedding scene that they were doing in the first episode many years ago, and one of the cast members couldn't make it. When he was a very young boy, his mother, of the main protagonist here again, volunteered him to be, what was it, like the flower girl or of something, or of like Japanese weddings. I'm not quite sure how that goes down, but they were going to use him as a female character, to which, having no backbone, he just got whisked into the role. While being highly embarrassed, although at a young age, the movie was, or the ad that they were filming apparently had somewhat of a good success. It was actually a rather nice scene. I had no qualms about it. It was almost kind of disturbing to say, you know, as a lot of the cross-playing happens, the more attractive cross-plays. Our main protagonist has a really interesting iris color that really kind of draws you in, but he is a guy, so when they do put him up in the female garb against his will, it does bring an element out of the story that actually has a little bit of artistic value, but getting past the whole premise is kind of a chore in and of itself. After the ad was done, many years down the road, one of the actors agrees to do a 10-year later version of the ad where the characters have grown up, but his demand is it has to have the same cast as the ad from 10 years ago, meaning our protagonist, now 10 years older and pretty much your average teenager going through high school, would have to be in a bridal dress doing this ad, you know, this thing for this wedding company. And although he abstinently refuses to do this show, his brother, who is apparently a successful singer, shows up and has some connections with the vocal actor of the one character he fantasizes over. The brother typically brings a lot of custom-made um, uh, just bonus items that he would like throw together. Like you have like an alarm clock that was set to go off in the tune of whatever message that the vocal actor had to say, or very limited edition, almost non-existent limited edition. His brother just had it custom made. He presents these custom-made goods to his younger brother and says that if he goes through with these ads, he will get the goods. So, having his fandom used against him, he reluctantly agrees to press forward. And cross-dressing is not this guy's thing necessarily. So that's all I kind of wanted to get out right off the bat. He's rather being forced into these situations, and at least throughout one of the episodes, the actor who wanted to meet the one girl he met many years ago comes to an understanding as to the current situation, and I just don't really want to give away too much more than that. So.
So, I started watching this show, and the character designs were kind of interesting to me, and that's actually what pulled me into it. I love the eyes and the way they drew some of the female characters were pretty fun. And their mouths, though, were kind of really awkward, quite a bit. But overall, I thought it was really nice. But then, like I said, then I got to episode 3. So those people who were complaining about how free was the anime, if you love that stuff, you might want to watch Love Stage. There's not much else I can add to this. The ending pretty much tells you the whole story too, I think. That's all you can do, shake your head.
It's an eccentric show, not in the way that I'm used to, but not the eccentricness that I typically fanaticize over, but it is a rather unique show.
You wanted to add something, Sean?
While Nick was giving us a spiel, I skipped right to the middle of episode 3. I highly recommend it. Everyone should skip to the middle of episode 3. It's great.
Oh, man. So let's go on to the next show, which is just as bad, I would have to say.
I'd almost say it's a slight bit worse.
Maybe a bit worse, yeah.
So
you may go to... Oh,
okay,
man.
where's
episode
Stage?
2. That was nasty.
Shut up. Okay. Where's Love Stage? Centers around one trap character who is not at least trying to act a part of a trap. Hime Goto is a is it a short? I can't remember. I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a short, like 5 minutes long or 6.
Yeah, it was in the lineup, so I just couldn't tell. But it's a short in which trapping is the most common thing in Japan nowadays, apparently. We have a student consul who thinks that they are saving a an equally aged schoolgirl from being harassed by 2 thugs they kind of step in and save the day because they are the student council and who have very odd names. I'm not going to cover that right now, or very odd stunts that they do. But they come to find out that the person they saved was forced to cross-dress by the thugs who were going to basically sell him off that way. And the student council learns out that we almost have a, what's that, Hayate no Gokuto story set up where the parents have amassed an insane debt, and that's why the thugs were going to use the young boy to pay off the debt. The student council then says they will cover his debt as long as he becomes a student council member at their school, but he has to continuously dress or cross-dress. So it kind of has an opening a lot like Love Stage, but as it really pans out to the next episodes, they keep adding more trap characters, and they hit upon a fan service which is unique to the series because they'll commonly show characters with pink long hair who are supposedly males in, you know, just a skirt. They could show the chest area with just a skirt, and typically they try to upskirt the male characters as well, to which yeah. It's unique.
This show is bad. I mean, this is worse than the other one. The other one's actually, I mean, how to explain this? Like, here's a screenshot I shared when I first saw this. This guy's making a comment that the best part, the trap makes him harder than. Oh man.
There's a little bit of a troll sub at play there, I think, because I had a different translation that, I mean, it said among to the same lines, just not as explicit. But the scenes that they get drawn in here are really bad just because, well, you can accept what's going on in the story, or at least you understand the plot of what is raveling ahead of you. If someone were to glance over your screen as you were watching this, it's one of those things where you really don't want to you're not really going to want to be explaining what you're watching.
I mean, it's bad. All I could think of was like, what? When I saw this. But I swear, episode 2, it's. Oh my god.
Yeah, we have like 2 trap-centric shows this season, which makes for an odd season right off the bat, just because it's like you could almost come out and announce that this is the season of traps.
Well, episode or Love Stage, I wouldn't say was a trap show, honestly.
Not necessarily, but I mean,
this one is 100% trap show.
Not a trap in the sense of the character is trying to trap somebody, but a trap in the amount of decent cross-dressing that is being displayed in the Love one specifically, not in Himegoto. Himegoto is a bit extreme in what they're doing because they try to take full advantage of introducing fan service shots, but they try to get away with a lot because since they are using a supposed male cast, you don't have to censor some parts that you typically would on your traditional schoolgirl, which again makes for a little controversial fan service. But
no, I mean this show's worse, I would say, because like even when they were taking pictures of him in what was it, like Bloomers, they're like, oh yeah, that part's the best, and they know it's the guy, but I mean it's.
Yeah, but I mean, the trap characters just keep coming in this series, and I don't know if there's necessarily going to be an end in sight. Characters that you think are female are revealed later not to be, and it's just I can't trust this show.
Yeah, if it wasn't a short, I would drop this, I believe, but. Since it's a short, I could easily just quickly watch it, but it's not something I'm going to rewatch over and over again. You have something to add, Sean?
Is he watching it right now?
No.
Oh.
No, I can't stream it, so I have to download it later.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought I was hardcore for watching like Free, Bakumatsu Rock, and Dramatical Murder, but you guys are like shell shocked over at Love Stage and Himegoto. You know, you're just like cowering in the corners like the traps. They just keep coming.
They do.
No end to it.
Okay.
But whereas Pre is more of the Fujoshi side of things, this isn't like maybe that Love Stage, I think it's called, might be a little bit more of a Fujoshi series, or it absolutely is much more of one. Himegoto just took that trap concept and ran with it in a non-Fujoshi way. So
Free is pretty innocuous. Like they don't get on top of each other. There's no romance.
right,
You know.
and that's kind of I can't say Love Stage is going to be that way, but that's the spirit that Love Stage is at least trying to go for, and Himegoto is just let's amass every type of fan service shot that has come across every anime and show off our trap protagonist in this fan service shot. So
Yeah, so basically, we know what positions and what views you would like to see cute girls. Let's hit a guy in there that looks like a cute girl.
and he is actually wearing like normal Shimapan too, like no boxers.
Chris, if you're watching this, don't fall for the Shimapan. Stay away from this show.
This is the dark shot side of the Shimapan, Chris.
All Shimapan lovers, stay away from the show. Do not fall for it.
When the Shimapan goes dark.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next title.
Oh, yeah.
Himegoto is truly
We're
fabulous.
just going to continue on with the whole, what you guys were talking about earlier, Free.
No.
I haven't picked this one up yet because I pretty much felt it was finished with the first season. I don't really know what to expect with the second. So, who's watching this?
I mean, I'm watching it just because, like, 3 was actually really decent for what it was. Before I really take this one away, Sean, did you want to say anything about this one? 'Cause-
Free?
Hmm.
No, not really. I mean, I was going to go into detail with it.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much your comfortable second season. A lot of the characters are pretty much friends again. I gotta say though, in comparison to the first season, the whole vibe of the show has drastically changed. It just doesn't feel as raw and as actiony with everyone being kind of buddy. That element that really drew me into like the sportsmanship side of Free and the amazing visuals isn't as present yet as the second season is going. But there may have been slow points in the first season that I'm just kind of overlooking right now because it's been so long ago. But you know, I had fun watching the first season. It was a decent show. OreAni did a nice job with that. This second one, you know, while I'm watching it, it just doesn't feel like that first season anymore. So.
Yeah, the first season had like it introduced a rival like pretty early on, where the second season I'm current on it, so that would be like episode 3 or 4. It's still not clear where the conflict is. You know, we don't know what sort of character arcs they're going to be. So there's not as much drive to it. Although I do recall, because I'm mostly there for the like the swimming action, you know, which is really awesome, like really great stuff from Kyoto Animation. Like my enjoyment of the show is pretty much contingent on like whether there's like a high stakes tournament going on. And I remember the first half of Free, I was pretty bored, and then they get into the tournament stuff, and it gets awesome.
Yeah.
And the second half of Free, you know, I'm getting kind of bored. I'm just betting on the tournament later on. There's got to be one.
You know, maybe I'm enjoying the show a lot less because while I haven't commented on a lot of the openings and endings, I will say that I much prefer the first season opening and ending work as for this season. Like, it was almost something I was kind of looking forward to, just because the first two were so great in creativity, and they also came across with a nice beat to them. You know, that it was music I liked with highly original concepts. Mostly at play in the ending, not so much in the opening, but it was still decent. The opening and ending from this season has been a little lackluster for me as well, which I could almost say that that was like half the reason I was watching the first season of Freeze, just for like so I can watch that opening and ending one more time.
Yeah, I think I watch that ending like every time.
Yeah. This guy not so much, at least yet, but I don't know if it's gonna grow on me.
All right.
Free is a pretty safe show for Kyoto Animation. It by far sells the most. Like if you're just looking at disc sales, you know that's always a dubious number to look at, but it seems pretty popular. Free.
I don't know what kind of sales they would get though. I mean, you hold up like a book or something, and then you ask your vendor, "Is this free?" And then when they say yes, you just walk away with it. There's no sale.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title. Which we got here. Bakumatsu Rock.
Oh my god.
I kind of want Sean to read his first post because that was just so awesome.
Read my first post, huh?
Because the way you explained it in that first post was just pretty cool.
Alright. Give me 30 seconds. I need to go find it, if that's the case. It'll be in current titles and episodes. I just scroll down until I find that, like, dude shredding on the guitar or something. There it is. I said 3 warriors face off against the Shinsengumi on a wooden bridge. With hair of cotton candy, they draw not swords but electric guitars, and fight with the power of rock music. A rock so glam, their searingly colorful kimonos can't stand to remain on their ripped, youthful bods. The government forces are blown away in a sparkly haze. So yeah, Bakumatsu Rock is a... So in the Bakumatsu period, we're talking about real Japanese history here. Geez, how do I explain this thing? This is like a Ultimate game-based anime series, so it's based on a computer game series for women that has, like, you know, lots of Bishonen in it. It's a Bishonen show. Just imagine something like Samurai Showdown 5 or something, or Rurouni Kenshin, but instead of swords, the swordsmen have guitars, and they fight by shredding on these guitars. And there's also they also have like a drummer, so like his drum kit just like materializes out of nowhere, and then suddenly he's like doing some wicked drumming. And then, like I said in my post, like their uber colorful kimonos just like fly off of their ripped bodies, and then everyone gets blown away. So that was the first episode. Oh, they face off against the Shinsengumi, but instead of swords, they have microphones because they're all pop idols. So it's like pop versus rock. Is the conflict here? And in episode 2, they crash a Shinsengumi concert. The rockers like get up on stage and their instruments just like magically materialize out of nowhere, and then they're like battling in song. They're with the Shinsengumi, you know, they're going back and forth. It is so stupid. It is so goddamn stupid.
I pretty much dropped it like after the first episode myself. Like when I realized, you know, music was being regulated as much as actual katanas were back in the day. It was, you have to be a government-funded idol. There is no other types of idol. We will lock idling down to just who is government approved. And I pretty much just sat through the first episode and went, nope, not my cup of tea.
I thought it was really funny for 2 episodes. Then episode 3, I finally stopped giving a shit. I was like, I don't care about this. I'm gonna watch some other anime, and that's
Like it was
good
funny
for
to
2
a
episodes.
point, but like I said, this season I'm kind of watching a lot, and there was more than enough reason to add this thing to my chopping block. It was kind of the new convenient excuse, more or less. But I also kind of can project the way it was going, being from an Otome game, and um, just not for me. There's very few Otome themed animes that I'll actually kind of watch, and usually they do involve music, but this is a little too over the top for me when music is policed and not just actually used in an idealistic way. Um, I don't know. I just have no allure to the series at all. So, is there at least like a female protagonist that like tags along that who gets doted on by like all the
Not that I know of.
not yet. Not at all, maybe. Who knows?
No, you just have like female fans in the backdrop.
Yeah.
You know, because the fans who are watching these either Shinsengumi idols or these rebel rockers, you know, they're all female fans. So
It's kind of interesting, maybe, to replace the protagonist with just crowds of women. That'd be interesting, I guess.
You know, one thing I really like about some of these like Ultimate Game Fujoshi type shows are the flamboyant character designs they have on the males, because you usually don't see male characters with such flamboyant designs and just like incredibly bright, flashy colors and that sort of stuff.
Like when I first saw the character design of this guy, I thought he was going to go like off and be like Ryuko's brother or something. Like, I need my Senketsu guitar now. Shapeshift into the Bible.
Yeah, another guy always has like the sky blue kimono on. The other one has like a lime green kimono, I think.
I was just talking about like the red flare hair.
Yeah, yeah, the red guy. I mean, he looks like plausibly someone out of Gurren Lagann or something.
Yeah.
Red is a common enough color, but then when you put the three together, it's really like a rainbow of be shown in there.
Funny
Well,
when you say rainbow.
Alright, so I highly recommend you find that post in our anime community, anime talk. I swear that it's just hilarious just reading that, even though he just said it out loud here. Go over there, read it again, laugh out loud. +1.
As far as like,
or
I didn't get any hints of like boys' love in the show. That's the other thing that I want to mention. There's no like female stand-in for the viewer. There's no boys' love stuff as far as I've seen. So it's pretty innocuous, like free. It's silly. I recommend you at least like watch the second half of episode 1 and then the second half of episode 2.
You want to add anything, Triply?
I actually did that, and I was amused in a way I don't want to describe.
Made you want to learn how to play guitar, right?
I can already play the guitar, so I'm kind of amused.
Yeah, you just have to perfect that technique where you're shredding so hard that your shirt just like flies right off of you.
I don't think.
Dude, I'm working on materializing drums. It's harder than it looks.
Yeah, we should go to a convention and be all Bakumetsu Rock members.
But then, like, we would need people who would be like stand-ins for the instrument. So you show up and you're like staging your whole fight, and then you have like a crowd of buddies run up and do your instruments.
And who cosplays Hangout?
Alright, let's go to the next title.
Dread.
What is the next title? Crap.
I don't know. I closed the spreadsheet.
I got it. It's the next one. Shirogane no Ishi Argevolin or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I say the name a lot, but
We're calling the show I hate.
The show you hate. Oh.
Yeah, this season. This is the one I hate.
Oh.
While the other
I'll take
ones
it
were
away real quick
nasty,
just
this one I
because.
hate.
What?
I said while the other shows were kind of nasty, this one I just hate.
Okay. I mean, there's not too much promising here. We've got a tried and true story of we have, two countries at war. One has superior machines to the other. Warfare is pretty much dictated between a combination of foot soldiers, um, typical tank stuff like that, and bipedal walking mechs, much like seen in some classic Armored Core. These things are kind of very heavy set and typically move rather kind of slowly. They take slow steps. They're pretty big and bulky. There are some special. Well, what I should say is that those are the mechs that are employed by the country that our protagonist is from. They're actually vastly out of date in comparison to the enemy, who has not only superior development, but they have specialized mech units that can go for speed. These are highly purposed. You can see their their manufacturing has been fully optimized for the role that they're gonna play out in this battle. Whereas our good guys here, the guys from the perspective we're seeing, that pretty much has their armor or not armor. Did I say armored core earlier? If I said armored core, scratch that. That's one that just pops up in my head a lot. Front mission is what I wanted to say. The mechs are something from front mission. Um, it's actually kind of funny because, like, from the cockpit view that we get from these guys, you pretty much have your front display informational panels and like this tiny little beeper sized LED that shows you like your window view of what's to the side of you. It's actually kind of funny how outdated they attempted to make these mechs look. While our newly enlisted protagonist pretty much has issues listening to some orders that the captain's making to cut corners and try to get to the battle that they need to go, they come across these civilians that are being harassed by the enemy. The mech is being basically transported via truck and the enemies are attacking. While ordered not to engage, our protagonist jumps ahead, disobeying orders anyway in an attempt to save the civilian. He pretty much gets his butt handed to him as his mech is disabled rather quickly, while his couple friends of reinforcement, or his reinforcing friends, come in and kind of save his ass. While he investigates the civilian who's being attacked, instead of continuing to move this mech via transport, she decides to deploy it, getting in the machine to boot it up for the first time. This is kind of a revolutionary mech made by the startup company. It has a highly humanoid appearance and is a lot more humanistic in appearance, just not just humanoid, but sheer out human silhouette. In comparison to the tank-like mechs of the enemies that are both sides have been employing. She realizes halfway through that she probably shouldn't fight with this robot, as she is just a mere engineering technician, and passes the role of the actual combat to our main protagonist, soldier guy, who is already pretty rough at controlling mechs as it is, attempts to grasp this new mech that he's never piloted before. It's being explained to him that this mech can skim your surface thoughts, and you're supposed to think about what you want it to do, and the mech itself reads your intent and translates that directly to machine control, so you don't have to control it. He's a little kind of stuck in the mud with I must move these joysticks in order to move this machine, and doesn't get a good grasp at how it moves, but is able to display enough skill to successfully thwart the couple enemy units to regain the field while they figure out their next step. And that's pretty much essentially what this show is going to revolve around, is our main character's ability to pilot this thing to help against the war that has been almost a one-sided onslaught because of the enemy's superior tech. Now they've gotten the shining gem of an advanced mech, and he's going to have to use it. I do want to at least add that his army buddies did try to pilot the mech in his place, since he is a newer soldier. They would like someone who has a much higher sense of battle and presence to pilot the mech. Apparently, once it's grafted, its thought circuit, if that's what you want to call it to someone, it cannot be reset. So our soldier is stuck as the pilot, but the engineer still needs to be there to boot up the machine, as she was in the cockpit for the boot sequence. So she has to be in there for the machine to start up, and then he has to control the machine. The two almost have to work as a pair. She does not stay in the cockpit while he's in there. She just boots it up and gets going. So.
Yeah,
It's a rather.
this show sucks.
Yeah. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of promise here, and the story sounds like some other media that you would have seen, but it is a show that I'm just going to watch because I do want to see where it's going and if there's anything promising that will develop in it.
I have to agree with Nick. Yeah, he hasn't mentioned something yet. We've got some very special hairstyles in place. That's the most interesting thing about this anime right now.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go on to the next title.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to keep with this one. Grammatical Murder, which Sean skipped out the first 20 minutes of our hangout to watch.
Yeah, episode 4 premieres at the exact start time of this hangout, so you know, 1 to 3 wasn't. It didn't give me a clear picture of what the show is or where it's going to go. 4 at least told me some stuff, got some things in motion. Geez, Dramatical Murder. It's a weird show. It has a lot of elements, a lot of weird things going on. It's an Ultimate Game anime. It comes from Nitro Plus, like Nitro Plus Chiral or something like that. That's like their Ultimate Game label. It's pretty well regarded. Like, I've seen this really awesome Good Smile company figure, I think, or no, it was Max Factory. But it was like this giant statue of the protagonist, and it was really cool looking. I was always wondering what the hell Dramatical Murder is, and I guess now we get to find out. The story is like in the future, some Japanese mega corporation buys out an entire island, turns it into a theme park for the elite, and then all the old residents are sort of kicked out into a slum. So the show takes place in the slum. There's like street gangs everywhere. There's yakuza. There's and the street gangs. Some of the gang leaders are worried because their members are like starting to play this deadly VR game that, like, people who get too far into it, they come out kind of like zombies or something, like they've lost themselves. And the story follows a character named Aoba, and he used to be a gangster, I guess, but he's gone legit. So he just works in like this retro electronics shop, in the sense that it's got like CRT screens and stuff. Like, every time anyone comes in, they're like, "Wow, the shop is so retro." So he works there. He lives with his grandma. It's a simple life, but he still has a lot of connections to, you know, he still has friends in the street gangs. He still has friends in the yakuza. And then one day he's like sucked into this virtual reality battle, and the person battling him thinks that he's supposed to be like this super crazy good master at the game, but he has no idea what he's talking about. And then eventually this other personality gets summoned out of him, and then suddenly he's like the super game master badass. And then the day after that, he doesn't remember any of it. and we get the sense that his grandma and a lot of his friends are actually trying to keep this secret from him. That he used to be some sort of game master, but he lost those memories, and now he's living the simple life. I don't know. But the show has kind of a cyberpunk vibe to it, and that's sort of why I like it. You know, it's just got like just this hint of neuromancer. because it takes place in a slum, it's got all these street gangs. It's kind of gritty, but at the same time it's very, very anime. Like it's kind of lightweight. It's got lots of like uber flashy, colorful character designs. Like their costumes are really flamboyant, and the gangs that they're in, they all have like really stupid, funny names, like Dry Juice or something. That was one of them. So I didn't really know where the show was going for like 3 episodes. In episode 4, his friends and family start disappearing, and that sets the stage for the mystery. Alba now has to find out what's going on. And meanwhile, the evil mega corporation, you know, in their like evil mega theme park, it seems like they're the ones running these cyber games, but we don't know for what reason. So that's Dramatical Murder. The production values are like, they're mediocre. Like most of the time it looks okay. Episode 3 was like one of those famous bad episodes where the studio had to like apologize on Twitter, be like, we're gonna fix this in the Blu-ray, we know it looked like garbage. It's intriguing. You know, I can't really recommend it, I guess, but I am gonna watch all of it because it's intriguing enough. It has a lot of weird elements. It's based on a boys' love game, but the boys' love stuff is sort of subdued, and the reasoning is that the story is supposed to be good enough that it can just stand on its own. You know, just the story and not have like lots of boys' love service in it. So it's just there, just a little bit, just a hint of boys' love. There aren't any female characters unless you count Grandma, which I don't.
No.
Yeah, because she's not like a marketable character in the same sense.
She's
like,
not a Noe character of any sort.
So yeah, it's basically a world of men, a world of street gangs. I really want to see where it's going. You know, even though the production values are mediocre, even though. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty much why I'm going to be watching it too. I want to know if there's going to be something interesting about it. There seems something peculiar about the main character as well. Just one more thing I will bring up is his hair design. He has this kind of this flowing lock of hair in the back. You know, pretty trimmed, bangs in the front. But there was a statement made at some point that apparently his hair has like a feeling to him. Like I think in the anime they said like there was like he has like a tinge of nerves in them or something. Like I don't know, like but apparently there's something special there. And there's just so much obscure about this series that I just kind of want to let that mystery unravel for me. I just want to know what it is. Like, you know, in the very title right now, it's drama is highlighted in Dramatical Murderers. So, you know,
why the hell is it called that?
I know. Like, I was kind of hoping, since it was so cyberpunk, that I was mislooking at it. And I was like, maybe it's like DRAM. Murderer. Like it's something about the RAM. And I'm like, no, that word is drama. I would have think I liked it better as DRAM. But, I mean, there's just so much of a mystery going on, and I want that to unravel before I can make my assertion as to how good or bad this show is going to be. So I'm in it till most of the mystery unravels, I think.
Yeah, speaking of DRAM or whatever, the technology in the show is kind of fun. So the main character does most of his computing through like his smartwatch that has like it's able to project the display like into the air, like right above the watch. So he checks his email on that, but he also has like this robot dog that's like internet connected. So he always has conversations with his robo dog, and the dog can also do like data analysis and virus scans and that sort of stuff. It's a pretty funny consumer electronics paradigm that they have there. in Dramatical Murder, and it seems like even all the gang members have some sort of funny pet that's color coordinated with their costume. Like the guy in the red kimono has like this red bird or something.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because like in the news they were even talking like there's this new model out that was like I don't know what was it, a cat or a mouse or something. They're like advertising these specs for these machines that are basically like little animatronic pets that have some weird personality quirk of some sort. Now, our main protagonist, his dog, seems fairly normal, but as we were saying, the other animatronic, like almost like Showbiz style Persefon, if you will, have some very obscure personality traits and character design. Like their whole art style is kind of peculiar.
Yeah, there's this dude who always has an umbrella even though it's not raining, and he always has a gas mask on even when he's eating. There was like this comedy moment where he was like eating pastries or something, but he would do it like a ninja. He would just be like, he would grab that shit and then lift up his mask and then shove it into his mouth and put his mask back down. And everyone would just like stare at him intently, like, how are you eating those? And
Yeah,
but it's like, oh, it's easy. I'm like, and you don't get to see his face at all.
Yeah, like
then,
that whole scene like takes like place over 1 or 2 frames tops.
Yeah, and then he needs to like drink something, so then he like opens up the front of his gas mask and extends this straw out.
Yeah.
And I think his like robo pet is like this jellyfish that has a derp face on it. At least that's what I saw in episode 4.
Their junk shop's also kind of interesting. It's called like Mediocrity, and like so much of like has-been technology. It's actually kind of funny and almost like insulting because they hinge on a lot of our current day technology being in the shop. There's times where you see like Mac monitors like shoved in the background somewhere, and just like odds and ends out of today's society. It's pretty much essentially what these guys have a business on selling somehow.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I don't know whether to recommend Dramatical Murder. I don't know if it's going to be a good show. But it's definitely intriguing, even with its kind of mediocre to low production value. I still watch it. If Free had that level of production value, I wouldn't be watching that shit at all. If Dramatical Murder had the production value of Free, it'd be awesome. So, maybe the story will be interesting. Or, it'll be good enough. Like, because it seemed to be a well-regarded series. Like, it's a well-regarded game. Like, a lot of people were excited for this anime adaptation on Google+.
I don't know. The last time I trust, how do you pronounce it? It's Nitro L or something like that? Nitro? Is it just Nitro?
I don't know. I actually never looked up how to pronounce it properly. It just looks like Nitro Plus to me.
Yeah, like the last one that I watched from them was that what was Sonico, and oh dear God, like the only good thing about that was typically it reminded me that I liked macarons. that was about all the fun I had with Sonico.
Nitro Plus. I think Nitro Plus puts out a lot of games. Didn't they do Steins Gate?
They might have had. Hey, I don't know if they did or not.
I think Gen Urobuchi was originally a writer from Nitro Plus.
I'm not quite sure because I don't know. Isn't like the studio involved? They do all those semicolon titles like Chaos Head, Steins Gate, Robotics Notes, and I just don't know if Nitro has like a name invested in all those titles or not. I'm not overseas, so.
Okay, well they co-produced Steins Gate.
Okay, yeah,
Nitro
like at
Plus.
most that's what I thought they would have done.
How about Chaos Head? Yeah, that's the same people. It's 5PB and Nitro Plus are like the two studios. And what about Robotics Notes? Oh, that does not involve
That
Nitro
too.
Plus.
No, it's under the it's 2012. It says Robotic Notes is under the 5PB times Nitro Plus.
Hmm.
It's part of their Science Adventure series. So So the actual game, I guess they spun off all their Otome games. So Nitro, technically, I guess it's Nitro. Nitro plus Chiral is the Otome game brand but their parent company is Nitro Plus.
It's funny that dude can feel through his hair. And someone on Google Plus was like fangirling over that.
Really?
So I bet in the game that was like a thing. That's like, oh no, my hair, that's my weak spot. Don't like stroke it and fondle it. I bet that's how a lot of the BL scenes got started there.
All right. So let's see. That should be it for today. We don't want to go too far over our 2-hour mark. We are missing quite a few little shorts and titles. Hopefully, Nick, you can make a post about those.
But a post wouldn't be part of this experience. Doesn't matter neither.
Or we can create a video just for me and you, since it seems that you and I are the only ones who've watched anything else. So
Special segment.
yeah, we'll do a little special video. But that should be it for today. Thank you guys for watching.
Let's do one more thing.
What?
Number one recommendations. What's our favorite things of the season so far?
Oh, Jesus.
Number one recommendations?
All right, if you guys don't know, I'll do it.
Nozaki-kun, I would say. My recommendation. Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun.
I just need to look at these titles because there's quite a bit of them.
Yeah, a lot of people were talking about that one. I'll probably check out an episode. Even though I was most hyped for... Oh, what's that anime? Yeah, Zankyo no Terror. Even though I was most hyped for that, the show that I'm actually enjoying the most is Barakamon, which I'm not posting about regularly, but it's still a show that I enjoy. It's just such a nice show. There's nothing I can say to like make you go watch it. You just need to watch the first episode and you'll get it.
Yeah, like I'm torn. There's so many things that I just want to see how they pan out before I can give them like the best spot. But there's like at least like a handful of titles grueling for that most recommendation. But under the assumption that a lot of people would recommend the Terror in Resonance, I'll save that one for my list of just kind of most favored. But let's see, a title that I just want I could have like anyone just check out and like hope they would pick up or whatever.
No, it's your recommendation.
I know. I'm just trying to think though. Well, what would I most likely push around to my friends?
We'll get to you last then, so you can have time to think about it. But Albert, what about you?
So yeah, currently I think my top spot is still Zankyo no Terror, but Out Noah Zero has been actually really good. And if you're a mecha anime fan, or if you're a Urobuchi type, heavy drama fan, science fiction fan, I would highly recommend Out Noah Zero.
The music is wonderful for that one. It's the guy that did for Shingeki, or what is that? Attack on Titan.
I'm not sure who the music. I know the OP is like Calafina, so.
Yeah. Also Guilty Crown. The music composer did those for that.
Okay. Yeah, it's really nice. The music's good. The animation is top notch, and the story is.
The funny thing is that's like what was brewing. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna skip past Terror and Resonance, it might as well be this one because it truly seems promising.
What about you, Triple A?
Well, if it has to be one title, it has to be Out Noah Zero, I think. It's just, let's say, quite nicely done mecha anime with a good setting, sound. Overall, it's up until now my anime of the season. It's just something that I have to watch on release day. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
Nick.
those are definitely some top three. No, I was gonna say it was Al Noah Zero most likely, just because it seems so promising. I like the sense of nobility with the mechs, with the nice effects, music, blah blah blah. As an ending note, because I actually did forget to mention this about when we were talking about Dramatical Murderer, I really hate their music. That opening and ending, like
Oh,
like
I think the music's cool until they start singing. I just don't
yeah,
like that
like
style
it's
of
so
male
drowned
singing.
out. It's like it's so imbalanced with the music. I don't even know. Like I think if it was just like the instrumental track, it would be a lot better than just having those washed out vocals fading in the background.
Yeah, the vocals are kind of a mess. But I do like that the show has kind of a techno edge to it. You know,
Yeah, like
it just makes it feel more cyberpunk.
it seems so highly thematic, but at the same time, I just every time I watch that, I just like I want to skip this, but I usually don't because I'm the opening ending watcher.
All right, yeah. So Gekkan Shoujo, watch. I'm surprised Sword Art Online wasn't recommended, but not really.
This particular flavor of Sword Art, I know is not going to do as well as if they do another future project. I know where this one's going, and it's going to be somewhat decent. I think it will truly shock people too. So if they haven't been spoiled.
All right. So let's go ahead and wave goodbye. So Albert, what's our goodbye thing if Nyan poses our greeting?
I don't think we have one. We'll have to think about it for next time.
How
All right.
about Obio?
No.
Never, Nick. So be sure to check out the Anime Talk community to get all the reviews. These guys do some pretty good stuff. Unfortunately, the only thing I post are these videos. Or I should post more. And what else? Check out Owen Evans' site. I'll put a link up there. He did our wonderful art, and we're hopefully going to get some banner art for our YouTube page. And also, Shirakin just posted Wonderfest 2014, right? Yesterday? A video walkthrough.
Yeah, Shuriken. I helped him host that hangout. And he took his cell phone into Wonderfest, which is it's like the Japanese figure convention. And he just walked around with like his cell phone on his chest. So if you want to see like the size and scope of Wonderfest, then that's an interesting way to see it. You know, it does make me want to go to that thing. It looks like a pretty manageable convention, not like the jungle that I always hear comic market is supposed to be.
Yeah, there was a lot of space.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed really cool. I would be there for hours if I went there.
Yeah, like they always have really immaculate displays of that are great in picture, but I just couldn't imagine like seeing it in person.
Yeah, and I believe there's a lot of pictures being posted on the figure
Photography.
photography community, so you can check that out as well if you're into the figure collecting. I'll see about getting some links and post them on our video for all those communities so you can check them out, because they're pretty fun to watch these or see the lineup of figures that are out there. But I think that's it. Anything else you guys want to mention?
Yeah.
All right, goodbye.